Ladies and gentlemen, dear colleagues and dear friends, first of all, let me thank Young Moon and Piesmomo for the kind invitation. And as a German, I like to thank also the Friedrich Ebert Foundation for its support for this event. It is also a great pleasure to meet colleagues and friends from the Friedrich Ebert Foundation somewhere in the world. And you know, he was speaking about 100 offices in the world. I can say IPB, the International Peace Bureau, is the biggest peace network in the world with more than 400 member organizations in 76 countries. And it's a long history. It was founded in 1891 and got the Nobel Peace Prize in 1910. And when you are looking from 1891 to today, you can see the challenges, but also many common situations between war and peace in the history. I would like to start with a quote. The most famous newspaper, the Bulletin of the Nuclear Scientist, the Atomic Scientist Bulletin, announced in January this year again, we are 100 seconds before midnight. What does this mean, 100 seconds? What are the reasons for that? The Nobel laureates which are publishing these newsletters are saying there are two reasons. One reason is the nuclear danger, the danger of nuclear weapons. And the second reason is the climate change and the danger of climate change. And I think this shows the two existential dangers the world is facing. And I would enlarge, when they are speaking about nuclear weapons, I think they include the question of military spending. And the Swedish Peace Research Institute announced the world for the first time in history is spending more than $2 trillion for military purposes. And I would like to add to climate change the problem of biodiversity. Every year, 7,000 species, flora and fauna, are leaving our planet. They are dying forever. And I would like to add water. One of the huge challenges is our water crisis. About 4 billion people up to now are living with lack of water. And this will expand when we are knowing that human beings will be allowed 9 billion in about 10 or 15 years. So that are the huge challenges. And when I'm looking to these huge challenges, and I'm looking to the actual situation, I can only become worrying. What is the future of human being under the conditions of the danger of a nuclear war and under the conditions of the danger of the environmental disaster all over the world? And saying this, I have to look, how is the world situation? Are the governments of the countries of the world are working together for solving these problems? Are they working together for making the Paris Charter for the climate change becoming reality, reducing the emissions? Are they working together to making the Sustainable Development Goals of the United Nations become reality? And when I'm saying this, I have to say I'm very much in doubt that they are working in this direction. I can only see that we have a huge fight of competition and confrontation in the world. From my understanding, we are in the middle point of a fight for a new world order between traditional old powers and uprising new powers. Obviously, one of the old powers which influence reduced in the world is the United States of America, which want to keep the superpower in the world. One of the upgrading powers is definitely China. Some people say, by some economical figures, China is even stronger than the US today. I will only mention 2 or 3 figures which are, for me, always are very impressive. From the people which are leaving universities and in the field of natural scientists, 8 times more students in China are leaving the university than in the United States. 8 from the 10 biggest harbors in the world are in China. Or for 180 of 192 countries, China is the biggest trade partner. Only some figures. I will not saying that the US is not any longer strong, looking to communication, modern systems, technology advancement, but there is an uprising fight of the new countries. This brings me to the point that the old powers want to keep the powers and the new powers want to become stronger. And this fight is not peaceful. And the consequences of this fight is confrontation instead of cooperation, is not solving the global problems, but is military spending and enlarging the military spending. And in the end, we see the consequence of this confrontation in the Ukrainian war. It is definitely an aggression of Russia against Ukraine. But this war has a pre-story. And this pre-story has a lot to do with the NATO expansion to the east, the NATO expansion to the Russian border. And this is a key point for me. Security. You will only get security when you balance the security interests of all sides. When you not only take into account your own security interests, but always look also to the security interests of the other side. This is what we are meaning under common security. Security is only in the double pack. Both sides are non-side. And IPB, together with the National Trade Unions Confederation and the Olaf Palme Center in Stockholm, was developing a new Olaf Palme report 40 years after the next one, which said we need in this world of danger, we need cooperation, dialogue, common understanding, negotiation to exclude war and to solve the global problems of the world. And this common security report for our shared future is a little bit the guideline for us to show in which direction we should go to secure the security interests of all sides. Saying this, I have to say we have to look to the different regions and see how we can develop common security politics. This includes different parts of Asia, not only the Korean Peninsula, but also the South China Sea. And I think for all is the key point, we need cooperation, negotiation, and dialogue. This is the same for Ukraine. When we want to solve the Ukrainian war, we have to come back to the table. We have to negotiate the different interests. And for me, the best document up to now is a suggestion of the Italian government for a common agreement, for a ceasefire process, for a new contract related to Ukraine and Europe, because we also need for Europe a new security structure. This brings me to the point, what can we do? I think as people's movement or as peace movement, we should try to develop context and relations to what always is called the opponent. We need to come back to people's diplomacy. This means we need people's contacts all over the borders to get a better understanding and to avoid enemy constructions, which is today a part of many of our medias, and this is definitely not helpful. The second point for me is we need disarmament. And disarmament today means also that we have to avoid a further extensions of the military alliances. This is above all, we don't need a global NATO. NATO by name is a North Atlantic Treaty Organization. NATO in reality today is the biggest and strongest military alliance in the world because of their contracts with Japan, with South Korea, with Singapore, their new developments of their relations with Philippines, Indonesia, and other Asian countries. Also, their new relations to Colombia and Brazil in Latin America. So we can really speak from a global NATO as a global military alliance. And a military alliance is always an exclusive club, not an inclusive club. But what we need for cooperation and dialogue is inclusive agreements. Climate change we can only solve when every party will be a part of it. Hunger we can only solve when everyone will work with us together. So the huge challenge for us is to come to these cooperative relations. And why we need this so difficult? We need this to come in a direction what I would call a social ecological transformation. The old system, the system of industrial production, industrial enlargement, more economic growth is coming to an end. by resources borders, by economic borders. And we need a social ecological transformation in all parts of the world, above all in the industrial countries, to a more environmental, more healthy, more realistic and more economic system. That is a huge challenge, and this is only possible by military reduction and reduction of military spending. We need the 2 trillion we are spending for military purposes for social and ecological development. That is our huge challenge. That is a part of the work of the peace movement. We are at IPB, we are definitely convinced to these ideas and want to support these ideas also in the future. Thank you.